Okay, Greg, you give some great examples where violent video games have contributed to violent behaviors. However, you forget to mention that in the case of Michael Carneal, the killer of the Kentucky massacre that occurred on December 1st, 1997, was bullied by other students and suffered from severe paranoia. He even covered up vents and windows while in bathrooms because he felt he was being watched. He was even diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. This proves that the violent video game may not have been correlated with the shooting. In addition, you mentioned that he did it because he was able to and wanted to. So would taking the video game stop him from wanting to or being able to? Probably not. If someone really wants to kill someone, he or she will find a way to do it, which Michael Carneal proved. You also gave examples of 2 other shootings which were related to violent video games. I have given 2 shootings that were not related to violent video games. So there is still a lack of evidence to prove that violent video games made them do it. The 2 shootings that you mentioned could be explained by violent youth being drawn to violent video games rather than the other way around. Not to mention, there are many factors that lead a child to act out violently, such as depression, anxiety, and family violence. Like I mentioned before, family violence exposure is more of a predictor of hurting someone than playing violent video games. Professor Christian Ferguson, who has a PhD in clinical psychology, shows that violent video games may affect the form of violence, but does not cause the violence to occur. To restate, youth might model violent acts on what they have seen in video games, but the violence would still occur in the absence of video games. Furthermore, our culture have given rise to violent video games, not the other way around. There is so much violence in television as well as in the movies. Kids are just as likely to see a rated R movie with their parents as they are likely to gain access to a violent video game. Kids can act out what they see in movies just like they can act out what they see in violent video games. Are we going to ban violent movies as well? What's next? Ban the books? Are wars taught in school going to be banned too because they are too violent? What would count as violence? When would something be too violent to be allowed? How far would the government go in limiting what kids and everyone can see and or hear? Yes, I agree, protecting lives is important, but what about our rights? Our rights are just as important because without rights, we would have no purpose of living. To end, banning violent video games would cause more harm than good. The government would keep gaining more power over us, and gradually our freedoms would be depleted. It may start with just banning violent video games, but it could end with the banning of movies, video games, and television altogether. We must stop the government from gaining too much power and limit the ideas that come to our head. We were brought on this earth to be curious about many things and to think about abstract ideas. The government cannot take our meaning of life away. Video games, both ones with violence and without violence, allow us to use our imagination and explore different worlds, as well as provide a way to release tension and stress. In addition, they provide an outlet for anger and aggressive feelings. The government simply cannot ban violent video games. The government does not have the power to restrict the flow of ideas. Therefore, I am committed, and always will be, for the allowance of violent video games.